Canadian Air CRJ 700 aircraft, and it's the airline number was American Airlines 5342, but it's not an American Airlines crew whatsoever. It's PSA Airlines. Nothing unusual about that. That's a regional airline that PSA feeds American Airlines. In this case, Wichita, Kansas, and Washington Reagan. United, Delta, everybody has regional airlines that feeds them. So it's not the pilots were not employed by American Airlines. In the event, the CRJ 700 was on an approach to Washington Reagan runway 01, very normal up the Potomac River, a beautiful arrival. It really is. And around 9 p.m. Washington, D.C. time is when, just before landing, but not too close to the runway, the tower controller asked the PSA, could you land on runway 33? And that would be a little bit of a right turn to the northeast and then a left turn to land up runway 33. For an aircraft that size, safe, no problem at all. So they accepted that. And as they're turning a final approach runway 33, they had the midair collision with the Nighthawk helicopter. And I believe it's called the Nighthawk. And so, um, yeah, Black Hawk helicopter. And what was the helicopter doing there? So far, everything's okay with PSA and with the controller. The question is, why was the Black Hawk helicopter going up the Potomac River? They had departed somewhere in Virginia, I believe, and they were flying down the Potomac River, and they were somewhere in the vicinity of this PSA airplane. Why the controller did not alert the PSA is going to be under investigation, because what the controller would say is, PSA, if that's their call sign, look over at your right side, 3 miles is an Army Black Hawk helicopter. Do you have it in sight? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. We have the helicopter in sight. Then they'll say maintain visual separation, not unsafe, not unusual. So why the Black Hawk helicopter, which is apparently training, that is an instructor pilot is on board the helicopter and a relatively new pilot, not confirmed, no facts behind that. They could have been distracted. That we don't know yet. The fuselage of the CRJ, very sad, was cut basically in half. That means the rotor blades of the helicopter went through the airplane, very possibly without proof at this point. And so that's the big question. If they're operating in an area where they following the instructions of the air traffic controller or not, that's going to be under investigation. Of course, you have on the CRJ the cockpit voice recorder, the so-called black box, which is really orange. They haven't found it. They're going to find it in the Potomac. No problem there whatsoever. Also, on the CRJ 700, you have equipment that's on every airliner, whether it's a smaller aircraft like that or a Boeing 747 or a Boeing 777 operated by any airline in the world. You have TCAS, Traffic Collision Avoidance System. Now, that's a mystery to me. Why in the CRJ, the PSA, did they not get a signal from the helicopter? That I find very interesting. It's possible that the transponder, I'm getting a little technical, on the helicopter was turned off or inoperative. TCAS is what we call that, traffic collision avoidance system. And you'll hear a voice that says traffic, traffic. And so you're not getting ready to have a collision. It could happen. You look over to the left or right and deck. Then you start maneuvering. Moments later, you hear climb, climb, or descend, descend. Of course, they're near the ground. You don't want to descend. And the computer knows that. So where was TCAS in this? That's going to come out in an investigation. That will be found out in the research of the cockpit voice recorder, the noises in the flight deck, and also the flight data recorder on the CRJ 700. Um, did did it activate any of the systems in the airplane? So that's the latest that I have.
So to clarify or to simplify really what you said, I mean, maybe you could rephrase it for me a little bit, but um, typically the controller should have told the CRJ 700 that there was like danger in the way or whatever and that to maneuver away, but they didn't do that or like what? I'm just
Yeah, we don't know that, and
okay.
we don't. That's we'll find that out very easily. Every bit of air traffic control communication, Tiffany, is taped, 100%. They have it now. They have that now, and when a regretful accident like this happens, they relieve the controller of duty. Of course, they close the airport until Friday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern time. But they're going to ask, of course, they're going to ask the investigators, did you tell the CRJ 700 about the helicopter? Now, the helicopter does operate under special rules that I'm not an expert on. Could they have been operating in this area legally? It's called, I'm going to get a little technical. You don't need to put this in there, Class B airspace. And you got to talk to air traffic control to make it in simple English. So why were they not talking to air traffic control? And then back to your point, if they were talking to air traffic control, that why didn't air traffic control alert the CRJs of the presence of the helicopter?
So we just need to see really what where it went wrong.
Exactly.
So Richard, if let's say let's say you were investigating this, put like your pilot hat on, what would be the top three or four questions that you would first ask? Like, what would your questions be if you were to investigate this?
I would start with the air traffic controller in the tower at Washington Reagan, and ask the controller, "Were you talking to the Army helicopter?" And then if they say they were not, then I would have to be honest with you, find out the regulations of the Army helicopter, look at their policies, procedures. Why were they not talking to the tower? If they were not, it was that legal with a helicopter operation. So I would ask the U.S. Army, show me your regulations, your policies, procedures. And helicopters do have a little bit of different rules than fixed wing. Again, I'm not a helicopter pilot.
Mhm.
Um, Busy airport. The White House is near, nothing to do with the White House, of course, but this you have prohibited airspace very near there. That's the Capitol and the White House. So why they wouldn't be talking? So that, and then I would ask, I would demand to hear the tapes from the control tower talking to the PSA, and if they were talking to the helicopter. And they're going to pull the radar tapes. They're going to see who was on radar and where were they. Also, those top questions to the controller, were you talking? If you were talking to the Army helicopter, did you warn them about the PSA? Did you warn if you were talking to Army helicopter to the PSA crew, did you warn them about the Army helicopter? Those are the big questions about that. And why did you have the PSA at the last moment? Nothing unsafe about it to move from runway 01 to runway 33. All kinds of reasons that are safe and ethical, but I would certainly ask that.
Hmm.
Of course, the PSA crew can't ask any questions at all, and Army helicopter pilots are gone too.
At this point, there are more than 60 people that were on that CRJ 700. I mean, these are innocent, passengers, families who are losing so many loved ones, dozens and dozens. I mean, what are your feelings when you see something like this unfold?
Sadness, deep sadness for the loss. So unnecessary, so preventable. There were some human mistakes here, and the only good part. it won't bring family members back is they're going to learn from this and will not make this mistake again, whoever made the mistake.
This was definitely human error.
This was definitely human error. Where was the Army helicopter uh, in terms of communications and alerting the tower? And if they alerted the tower, were they following what they said? This is Army helicopter. I don't know their call sign. 1234. We're going to fly southbound of Potomac River at an altitude at or below 500 feet, and that's what you normally would do. And then the tower's aware of it, and other airplanes hear that also. I would say, Washington Tower, whatever your call sign is, where's that Army helicopter? Or they would point it out to you. So yeah, there's definitely human error on this.
So at this point, it sounds like from what you know and what we're hearing is that the crew on the CRJ 700 was not at fault. It was either the Army Black Hawk helicopter or air traffic controller. Human error on one of those, but probably not the CRJ 700. Is that right?
That's right. I see no fault at this point of the CRJ 700. At this point, no evidence to shows to me that they were in error what they did.
Heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking, extremely unnecessary. And as one of the, I think it was Fox in Washington asked me, they mentioned the temperature of the water was 35 degrees Fahrenheit ish, something like that. And life, there's no life in a minute or two with that cold temperature.
Right. Yeah, the search. And I mean, it's not really like a recovery. Like you can't rescue people at this point. It's just
So
recovering bodies, right?
only way you can rescue them in a miracle where there was another helicopter right there and the people are swimming. That not this is violent.
Richard, have
Whatever.
you ever in your, I mean, you were with American for 41 years. You've been in the industry a lot longer than that. How long have you been in the industry now?
50 plus.
Have you ever seen a crash like this before?
No, not with the violence of a midair collision with a helicopter. Very, very unheard of, very much unheard of. It's happened, I guess, Tiffany. I don't recall one. I'm sure we could look it up, but this was extremely violent.